good solo goal from him, and I think it showed a little bit like, what he can do now. He's past this level. He's not really being challenged by under-18 football, and I think he's showing that he kind of needs to be given that challenge. And we'll talk a little bit about AFCON because he's one of those players that could make that step up.
Jay here for Stretford Paddock. This is Academy Review. Joining me as always is Finn, otherwise known as Academy Scoop on your socials, otherwise known as the new presenter of our paper talk.
Yeah. Your number one choice presenter for the channel.
Well, this is it. I'm out of a job now because you stepped up and everyone loved it. So yeah, I'll be joining the Dole queue very soon. It's been an exciting time for the Academy, hasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And for once, I don't feel burdened by the need to bring positivity to the channel because the first team won.
It's all happening. The Academy team doing well, the first team winning. I just don't recognise my club anymore.
I know.
What do you want to start with? Who do you want to start with?
I think we can't avoid the JJ Gabriel fest that happened on Saturday. I think a lot of people will have seen 7-0 thrashing.
You know, when I see 7-0 thrashings involving Manchester United, I have horrible flashbacks to something we don't need to discuss. But this was a real positive.
No, it was the other way around this time round. United always do well when they go away to Liverpool in the under-18 league. I think we beat them 9-1 season before last. So, yes, it was a good day out, and JJ Gabriel was at the heart of it. It was a really strong team selection from Darren Fletcher, and to be fair, the under-18 form recently has been pretty poor, so they were looking for their first win in the last 5 league games. It's been a little bit of a dip. There's been injuries. There's obviously this season we've been fielding really, really young teams, which isn't kind of how United usually roll at this level. So there's been a few kind of teething issues there, but this was a different story. Several players who were involved in first team training across the season and this week were in the starting lineup. So the likes of obviously JJ Gabriel, who was pictured for the first time in first team training, Jim Thwaites, Godwill Kakonki, and a few other players who have also been involved in first team training. So very strong side, and United, basically dominated from start to finish. It was Mantato who opened the scoring. He was playing with a lot of confidence, and I think this goal evidenced the fact that he's outgrowing this level, to be honest. So he was played in behind on the right wing by Albert Mills, really, really good ball over the top, and he basically ran it all the way to goal himself. Really, really good solo effort. A couple teammates were asking for the cut back, but he said no. He cut in himself and finished really, really well. So good solo goal from him, and I think it showed a little bit like, what he can do now. He's past this level. He's not really being challenged by under-18 football, and I think he's showing that he kind of needs to be given that challenge. And we'll talk a little bit about AFCON because he's one of those players that could make that step up. And then from then on, it was the JJ Gabriel show, to be honest. I don't know if people might have seen the clips online, but some of these goals that he was scoring were just silly. It is mental. You've seen them.
I've seen him on your socials, and yeah, silly is a good way to describe him. Usually when I'm talking about United being silly, it's something that's infuriating. This was just ridiculous.
No, I think infuriating for Liverpool's defence.
Yeah, I mean,
they were just like
amazing to us.
Yeah.
But you were talking off camera before, and you were saying that you think this is the best play you've seen at this age.
At least in my time following the academy.
Your time following the academy, and I'll be honest with you, he's up there for me. And I could go back to the sort of the class of 92 days. I was only a kid myself then, but I remember him. Obviously, Ravel Morris is someone who springs to mind. Pogba, Mason Greenwood. We've seen some real talent during my time supporting United in the academy. But yeah, he's up there with any of the players in terms of his ability at that age. Watching him, he's just unreal.
I've spoken to coaches who were around United at that time when Ravel and Pogba were there. And they say he's absolutely in that bracket, absolutely.
I think
Ravel's
names. The one for me. I think of all the players I've seen as a youngster, I think Ravel stands out as probably the most naturally gifted. Yeah, I think we can say.
Yeah,
but
definitely feels.
Yeah, if he's got coaches saying that he's a similar bracket. Most people, there might be some people there, and I don't want to get all sort of niche or whatever, but who don't really get the hype around Ravel Morrison because his professional career didn't pan out the way it should have done. And they're probably looking at it going, was he really that good? And there's only a few clips of him you'll see doing the rounds. Trust me, he was phenomenal in that team that won the FA Youth Cup. He really was. And
Isn't there that story that Sir Alex and Wayne Rooney were in training at Carrington, and Ravel was taking part in a first team session at 15 or something, and Sir Alex said, he's better than you, Wayne. Something like that.
Something like that. I mean, he was unbelievable, but obviously we know it didn't pan out for him. But at that age, he was great. JJ Gabriel, if he's getting spoken about coaches in the same sort of way, then it's time to get excited. And also, we can see from JJ Gabriel, I'm sure you've mentioned it a few times, that he seems to have a good team around him.
Exactly.
People
I think
looking
the
out for him
worries
in the way that Ravel wasn't being looked out.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. I think he's got a really good group of people around him. Obviously, coaches will be looking out for him. I think in general, modern football clubs are now better at kind of spotting when there are off the field issues and, you know, stepping in and providing those support systems. So, you know, fingers crossed, he's not going to run into any of the same problems as Ravel. You know, the first goal was fantastic. So Jay McAvoy, who's an Irish midfielder, signed his scholarship for United in the summer. He played a really good assist for this one. Picked up the ball in the defence, evaded pressure, brought it into midfield and slipped in Gabriel really well. And yeah, JJ took it in his stride. Fantastic first touch. Chopped and turned 3 or 4 times, you know, going back on himself again and again. Just basically manipulating Liverpool's whole defence, spinning them silly, and then finished across goal when the shooting opportunity lined up. And it was just, silly.
I love that.
Good. And I think one thing that he does so well, he doesn't necessarily use skills in the sense that we associate the word skills with, like step overs and flip flaps and all these kind of intricate things. He doesn't so much take advantage of those kind of skills. He uses a lot of feints, a lot of kind of subtle body movements to wrong foot defenders, and for me, that's more conducive to being effective long term against, you know, higher oppositions, more challenging oppositions than, for example, someone who uses loads of step overs and that kind of thing. So really, really positive to see, and yeah, just a fantastic goal. So 2-0 going into half time. Exactly what you could ask for, and the second half was even more of a goal fest.
Class.
So yeah, it was JJ Gabriel again, this time played in by Bendito Mantato on the edge of the box, and with all due respect to Mantato, the pass was pretty poor. It was off the ground, and I think most players wouldn't have been able to make much of it. JJ Gabriel took it in his stride with the touch as he ran into the box, outmuscled a defender on his left, who was twice the size of him, cut onto his right to create the shooting opportunity, and then smashed it into the roof of the net. Just, again, silly. Just silly good. So yeah, by this point, he'd kind of really grown into the game. And forgot to point out, he was playing as a number 10 in this game. So we've seen him play up front a lot of the games this season because Louis Bradbury's been injured. And he's also played on the left, which is kind of his natural position as a left winger. This time he was playing as a number 10, picking up the ball in the pockets, and looks just as good. I think the game really suits him when he's able to play on the inside. So looking long term, you maybe look at Ruben Amorim's kind of inside forward positions as something that would suit him quite well. But yeah, really, really top performance from him. Obviously, he had to give some other players a chance at this point. So we had Louis Bradbury, who came off the bench. He has been injured from the summer, but one of United's higher rated striker options, signed his scholarship deal in the summer. Yeah. And he was involved with the under-18s a little bit towards the end of the last season, scored a good poacher's goal after some kind of chaos in the box following a corner. Fairly simple finish for him, but really good to see him back amongst the action, because I think part of United's poor form in the last 5 or 6 games has been that they haven't had a clear striker option. Yeah. Kai Rooney's also injured at the moment, so good to see that. And obviously it can't all be about JJ Gabriel. You know what I mean? Well,
yeah, I suppose you're right. There are some other players on the pitch who happen to be pretty good at football.
Yeah, absolutely. Next was Jim Thwaites from the penalty spot.
I know you're a big fan of his.
Fantastic player, and again, he was superb throughout this game. So much control in the midfield, kind of dictates the tempo of games, and knows just how to kind of pull the strings from deep. And he was wearing the captain's armband, which shows he's got that leadership as well. Got a really strong mentality. It was good work from Samuel Lascelles on the right wing. Ball was switched out to him, brought it down well, ran it into the box and was taken down. Clear as day penalty, which Jim Thwaites stepped up confidently, buried it, 5-0. And at this point, I think Liverpool had given up.
Yeah, heads had dropped.
Yeah, the goals were flowing. There wasn't much they could do, and United just were relentless. To be honest, didn't show any mercy, which is exactly what you want to see.
Rightly so,
especially against a rival like Liverpool. Lascelles was involved again in the next goal. Picked up the ball in the middle of the park, carried it forward. It kind of fell loose, but then fell back to him again. And he did really well to round the keeper on the right side and then finish from a tight angle. So he had a great impact off the bench. And there were top performances across the pitch. I think sometimes it's hard to talk about everyone, but honestly it was a really top team performance. The likes of Armour and Kokonki and Mills at the back all looked really comfortable, and Jay McAvoy again, who was responsible for the assist for JJ Gabriel. Really top performances everywhere across the pitch, so a lot of credit to the team, and also Darren Fletcher for the way he set them up. And then finally, the 7th goal, JJ Gabriel again, getting his hat-trick. A little bit more of a simple goal, this one, but still executed fantastically. It was Dante Plunkett who picked up the ball on the left wing, cut it back to JJ Gabriel, took one neat touch to set himself, opened his body up, and poked the ball home with quite a lot of power, to be honest. And it was a very, I think it would have been a coach's dream watching the way he executed those actions in terms of, the touch to set himself up, didn't do anything, more than he needed to, opened his body up in the right way, and just very, very well executed for 7-0.
7-0, eh? That's it now. They can't brag about any results they've had against us with that scoreline, because we've evened
that
it.
Evens.
Yeah, that is it.
Yeah.
Look, obviously a fantastic performance by United. It's not, you don't win 7-0 just because of one player. JJ Gabriel getting all the headlines, but you're right to point out some of the other players as well, Benedito Mansato and Jim Thwaites and everyone else who's contributed to what is a fantastic result. And hopefully, long may it continue with these lads doing bits under Darren Fletcher on JJ Gabriel, because he's obviously he's been the talk of.
It's the elephant in the room, isn't it? It's hard to ignore what he's doing.
Can't ignore it, and no one would want to. Where are we up to in terms? I know we ask you this almost every week. So, at what stage do we have to sort of worry about his future in terms of where he's going to go? How long have we got before that becomes a consideration for United?
So this summer he committed to staying for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
So at that age level, when you're 14, you commit to another 2 years before eventually you sign your scholarship deal if you decide that you want to stick around. So right now United would have until the summer of 2027 to at least become competent in the first team and show him, look, there's a real future for you. We're going to be competing at the top level. Things like the new stadium will be involved in those kind of conversations, and those conversations have already happened a lot this summer. There's a lot of work done by the likes of Wilcox and some of the really high-ranking United officials because of how highly he's rated. So I think at this point, the most important thing is just to enjoy watching him and enjoy his progress, also give him the chance to make progress without putting too much pressure on him. But there is that kind of worry in the back of the fans' minds and probably in the back of the club's mind. But at the moment, I think they've done everything that they can to make sure that we've got a fighting chance of keeping him. And I think in Gabriel, we face an issue that United aren't usually tasked with dealing with, because something that we've always been good at and never really struggled with is retaining our best talents out of the academy. Even if they do have interest from other European giants, it's always been something we've been able to do is keep hold of our best players. So I think it's a kind of new problem that we're navigating and trying to face in him, because he's that highly rated that every club in Europe would snap our hand off to sign him. So United do face a little bit of a challenge there, but I'm optimistic that we can. And again, we've got 2 years where you'd hope that the progress in the first team and the general club infrastructure improves to a level that you can say, right, well, look, we're competent, we're competitive at the top level against these other clubs that you could potentially be interested in joining. He's also been at the club since he was 8.
Yeah.
That does count for something. And a lot of these players, when you've grown up in an academy system like United's, it is a dream to be an important player for them long term. And we can't, I think it's easy in these conversations to play down the size of United, but we're still absolutely massive, one of the biggest clubs in the world.
100%.
And so I think there shouldn't be too many worries at this stage about keeping him. I think I'm just really enjoying watching such a talented player flourish. It's just really good to see.
No, it is, and hopefully United handle him the right way, like we mentioned there about the people that are looking out for him as well. And I think next season's going to be interesting, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think next season's going to be really interesting.
The thing is, I think a debut's on the cards at maybe 15, 16, which is something that United haven't really done too much before. Maybe a couple of players have made their debut at 16.
I think Angel Gomez is like the youngest, I think.
Yeah, Shola Shoretira, I think, made his debut, a couple of weeks after turning 17, something like that.
We've had a few sort of players in that bracket-ish. Do you know what I mean? But not quite.
I think this one might be a little bit different.
Could be a record breaker.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's even talk about him possibly being eligible to play in the FA Cup this season, but we'll see what happens there.
Yeah.
But yeah, very exciting in general.
It's so good to see, and long may it continue. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think about JJ Gabriel. Not to bring down the mood, but there were other games to talk about. Some of them not as exciting or as successful as the 7-0 against Liverpool.
Yeah, we won't dwell on this one for too long. But United faced Solihull Moors in the National League Cup on Tuesday last week. We haven't done this in chronological order just because I think it's good to.
We had to go straight into the JJ Gabriel game, didn't we? Or sorry, I should say the 7-0, not just the JJ Gabriel game. Dismissing all the other players on the pitch immediately. Sorry.
But yeah, it was. Yeah, we won't dwell on it. But it was a 4-1 defeat. I think the main takeaways from this one was that Ayden Heaven started, which I believe is his first start this season at any level.
Right.
Obviously, we've seen him struggle for minutes this season compared to last season when he came in. He played a fair few games. Obviously, United had injury issues at the back, and I think he did really, really well. Impressed a lot of people who, even people at the club responsible for signing him, who didn't quite expect him to be at that level just yet. But it's been a bit different, a bit slower for him, and I think it's been clear that he needs to be getting more minutes because he's a young talent. He's got a lot of potential and he's shown that he can perform, so he needs to be getting minutes. So this was a chance for him to kind of get a bit of fitness, get some minutes in the tank, and he started the game brilliantly, to be fair. Made a goal line clearance to stop United from conceding their first goal, and another crucial intervention 5 or 10 minutes later. But I think possibly due to the fact that he hasn't played many minutes, there was a few lapses of concentration later in the game, and it seemed like he wasn't quite locked in, in the way that you'd usually expect. And I think that was the tale of United's whole performance, to be honest. Lots of lapses of concentration at the back leading to goals. The bright spark was Bendito Mantato. Again, really, really talented player who I enjoy watching a lot and could be involved, I think, in the coming weeks, but we'll see what happens. He was played in behind by Jack Fletcher. Did really, really well to outmuscle his defender. They both kind of took a tumble together as an even 50-50. Mantato was able to get up first, get back to the ball, and finish really well one-on-one. So that was, United actually went ahead first through that goal. But yeah, lots of lapses of concentration, and United just weren't really on their A game. And to be fair, they're playing first team opposition, playing against players with senior experience, so it's always going to be difficult. But yeah, it wasn't United's day, to be honest.
These things happen. It's something you want to learn from, obviously. Good to see Ayden Heaven at least getting some minutes. Obviously, it's not the best game he's going to have, but I like Ayden Heaven. Really tight player. I know you were very excited when we got him, and you called it quite early as well, because all the sort of focus was on Patrick Dorgu coming at the same time, and people just sort of. I remember when they were both paraded on the pitch before the match when they'd been announced, and people were almost like, "Who's the kid with Dorgu?" Like,
well, I was told at the time he's been signed as a first-team option, and I think a lot of people disagreed with that. But
no, you were right. I mean, he got a lot of minutes, didn't he, in his first season, and if it wasn't for injury, he might have got a few more as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't want to see him stagnate, and hopefully he will have better days than he had against Solihull Moors. Let's be real.
And to be fair, there's been talk that he could be set for a loan in January.
Would you be for that?
I think so. I think, especially with the fact that Lisandro Martinez is now back, and you'd expect him to stay fit, hopefully. So I think there's not going to be many opportunities for Ayden Heaven to get minutes. He's not been that close to first team action this season. So I think the best thing for him is to be getting minutes for a first team outfit, to be able to get that experience under his belt, maybe in the Championship, but I'm sure there's actually going to be Premier League interest in him because of the level that he's shown he can perform at. So I'd be for that, to be honest, especially since it would only be for half a season really, and then he'd be back with United for the summer. So yeah, similar story with Diego Leon, who played in this match. Again, didn't have his best showing, but sounds, according to reports, like he'll be going to Nice. So interesting to see Ineos using that.
About time.
Yeah. Absolutely. So that'll be interesting. I think it'll be good for a few of our younger players to be getting loans. Again, Sekou Kone is another one who could go out on loan. Really, really important for them to be getting minutes in the tank and getting experience in what are crucial developmental years for them.
100%. Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we'll see these players getting those opportunities, getting moves when they need it, and progressing the way that they should be, and then coming back to Manchester United and helping us win loads of trophies.
Absolutely.
Looking ahead, we've got, is it Anderlecht?
Yeah, so just a few games coming up. I think this episode's going to go out tonight, so I can talk about Anderlecht in the Premier League International Cup, which is happening Tuesday, so tomorrow evening. This is at Lee Sports Village. So Anderlecht are always a really, really good a good academy setup, always producing highly rated players, so a really good level of opposition for United to be facing. They'll also be facing Borussia Dortmund later in December on the 19th. That one's going to be at Old Trafford, so big one for fans to get down to. And obviously we know Borussia Dortmund have a great academy too, so yeah, really good for United to be playing against other highly rated European academies. And then another big one for the under-18s, they're kicking off their FA Youth Cup campaign against Peterborough on Tuesday the 9th. That one's also at Old Trafford. That would be a chance to watch the likes of JJ Gabriel, maybe Kai Rooney, Jim Thwaites, players like this in the flesh, in obviously probably the most prestigious youth tournament, youth competition, the FA Youth Cup, one that United have such a history of winning and aiming for. So any fans that can get down to these games, definitely make sure you can go and show your support for the young players, because it means a lot to them. Great experience for them. So yeah, just looking ahead to a few interesting games there.
Yeah, we're going to try and get down to the Peterborough game if we can. Maybe take my lad.
Definitely.
My daughter as well, she wants to go. But yeah, it'd be good to see the likes of Kai Rooney and obviously JJ Gabriel, any excuse. Finn, always a pleasure. Thanks for coming back on the channel as well. You're going to be back. I think you're watching on Thursday, aren't you?
Yeah.
For the West Ham game. Go and check out Finn, Academy Scoop, on all your socials. Go and check out the link in the description as well for all the merch we've got on offer. Stretford Paddock store, got a lot of merch there. If you get your orders in now this week, they'll be in there in time for Christmas. You've got to get yourself a Christmas present or someone else. That's been Finn. I've been Jay. This has been Academy Review. Thanks for watching.